Bob Burgess here of the Burgi View, giving you a report on the 3rd day of July, 2025, on my 30-day fast that has now turned into a 33-day fast. I have not let solid food go through my mouth or pass through my lips, go into my mouth and pass my lips, for all the month of June. And now 3 days into July. My intention is to go into 40 days. And I think that's where I'm going to quit. I thought 30, and then now I got moved to 40. And now that I'm 3 days into this, I think 40 days is going to be what I'll shoot for, which is a week from today. And then I'll start the refeeding process, let you know how I'm doing as I go through that. Just to let you know that once again, I have another successful day not eating. Eating is not really an issue. It's just a matter of just saying no to myself over again. My cravings are limited. I don't have a strong desire to eat something because I'm hungry. I have a strong desire to eat something because I want to taste something. There are things, that I see and I go, man, that would be good. Man, that would be good. And so I think that I'm to the point now where another week and I'll be ready to start back. My weight loss situation is, just to catch up with that, I am down to 276.5 as of this morning. 276.5, which was down 1.5 pounds from where I was before, but I was at 276.2, excuse me, back on July 1st. And then we gained some. I gained some, so we're not quite back down to where we were. So we're still at trying to catch up with the weight loss. Don't know why I put some on. Didn't change anything, but did. Bodies are weird, and mine especially. But I'm down to 276.5. I hope that by the end of my fast, I will be able to have gotten below 270 into the 260s. I'm right now at 41.3 pounds. I have one more week. It's possible for me to get to the 50-pound mark that I have lost, knowing, of course, that's going to be a real fudgy kind of number, because once I start eating back in any kind of way, I'll probably start retaining some more liquid, more fluids on me. I will have something in my belly when I didn't before. So even though I may reach 50, I know I'm going to put a little bit back on just from those kinds of things. But I got to be careful that I'm not going to start putting it all back on. And that's where the discipline of making the correct choices comes in, which has not been my pattern for most of my life. So if you're praying for me, keep praying for me in that regard, because I do want to be able to enjoy life. I don't want to go down the path of where I see some people that just kind of give up when they get to certain situations with diabetes and blood pressure. And the place that I was when I started this, when I had to debate just about whether to stand up off the couch because it hurt too much. Excuse me, because it just hurt too much. And it put me out of breath just to stand up. So I hated being in that position. I said, man, I got to do something. And that's when I started this. Pretty quickly after that, I set the date to start on June 1st. And here I am July 3rd, and I have lost over 40 pounds. And I feel incredibly better. I was asked today about cognitively. I've had a few issues along the way with getting a little dizzy here and there. And so I felt depleted sometimes, and I went through some times when thinking straight was a little bit difficult. My body transitioned over to where now I feel clearer minded. I feel more energetic. I feel lighter on my feet. I literally am lighter on my feet. I just feel better able to face and enjoy the world. So I'm hoping that is something that I've learned, because I'm cleaning out toxins as well as losing weight. And it's really been a great benefit to me. Now, one concern I had is my blood pressure jumped up today. Don't know why. Got up this morning, and I got kind of busy doing some things. Nothing too exerting myself, but it wasn't that I took my blood pressure right away. But when I did finally get around to taking it, I had a couple phone calls and was a little active. I was at 150 over 84, which is high. And then tonight, when I took it again, hadn't gone down. As a matter of fact, I went up slightly, 155 over 90. Don't know why my blood pressure's jumped up. It's been in a good, pretty normal range for a week or so at least, and then a little over a week. And look at my records here, but. It jumped up, so we'll keep an eye on that. I'm not taking medication right now to see what I can do without medication. My blood glucose numbers have been fairly good, 99 this morning and 95 tonight. So that's down below that 100 mark, which is what I am shooting for. And we'll see what happens when I start back. So those are the numbers. That's how I'm doing. I had this was my birthday today. Had a good day. Went and helped my youngest son Jacoby, who he's using my dad's truck. That's his vehicle, and it stopped working on him a couple of weeks ago, and it's been sitting in a parking lot that we're at his work. We finally got down there to haul it someplace, and so he and I, with he in the truck, me in my vehicle, pulling his by a chain. Excuse me. Pause. Had to pause that for a second because I had a little tickle in my throat going on. I couldn't get rid of it just through a simple little cough. And it was a little rude, cough in your face. So I decided to stop, pause it, and get me a little bit of water, which hopefully that'll help me get through this. But as I was saying, my son Jacoby and I pulled his vehicle for 53 miles through Dallas rush hour, North Dallas rush hour traffic, and on up into the area where I live, which is northeast of all that, out kind of in a small town, to take him to a mechanic here in town that we both used and trust for them to take a look at it. So that was an adventure. It's really stressful, particularly if you're the guy being pulled, which Jacoby was. We were on the phone the whole time communicating and telling him what we were going to do, what moves we were going to make, and he had to slow me down. So that was a fun way to spend my birthday. Then this evening, Jacoby and I were joined by Jeremy, my second-born son. We came here, and they just hung out with me. That was my birthday present, which is exactly what I wanted. We played games, games on our TV, an Xbox game. I hadn't done that in years and years with my kids. I'm not a big gamer, but Jacoby had a golf game he wanted us to play together, and we did. We had a good time. There was a lot of laughter, and the kids seemed to get a little loud sometimes at each other or me, but that's okay. We had a lot of fun, and that was my birthday present, to spend time with them. My third-born son, Jonathan, and his wife Cassie are coming in tomorrow for July 4th. And of course, they'll probably mention my birthday along the way, and we'll enjoy the day together. So things are going good right now. I love having my family around, and that happens particularly around my birthday in July 4th in that area. That's a good time for that. So I wanted to just let you know everything that is going on with my fast and how everything is moving along. Now I want to just briefly kind of tell you some things about myself and ask if you have any advice. And it's strange coming from a person that has my professional background. I started many years ago in the mid-'80s working for the Zig Ziglar Corporation, is what it's called at that time. And it was I think a pretty thriving business. Zig Ziglar is one of the top motivational speakers in the world. I had the chance to begin to start to work at that organization, and in about a year, I started doing some speaking and training for them. Had to go through a lot of ups and downs through that period of time, but excuse me. But had a great time doing it. Now, one of the things that attracted me about Zig Ziglar's teaching Took a pause there to cough again. But Zig Ziglar's teaching was, I got hold of some tapes when I first had the opportunity to go interview there, some tapes. I'd never heard him speak, didn't know a lot about him, just heard of him. But he went through this presentation on this series of tapes on self-esteem. Now that was an issue for me because I had always battled with self-esteem issues. Still do. It's not something that I think you just snap your fingers and get over. But he dealt with self-esteem in one of his presentations. That was one of his key components to walking up what he called the stairway to success, is having good self-esteem. And I also had gone through a seminar that was about a week long, where self-esteem from a Christian viewpoint was taught, and the importance of it, and how we should look at that in our relationship with God. Many times it's partly determined by how much we accept ourselves, because God made us. And that was all very good for me, because I always had an issue with that. I've always had, and it used to be called an inferiority complex. I don't know how I developed that. I did have a pretty critical mother. That was a component. Love her, but she was hypercritical of me at times. I don't know exactly why I always seemed to think that I didn't fit in. I didn't fit in very well. I felt that most people were better at many things than I was. I always felt on the outside. Growing up in junior high and high school, I felt I was picked on a lot, and I did not think of myself very highly. I used to have thoughts like, I remember looking at my band instructor and just thinking her thoughts were, poor Robert Burgess, he doesn't know what it's like to walk across the band hall without tripping over something. That I for some reason imposed that thinking on her, thinking she was thinking that about me. I'm sure it wasn't true at all, but that's typical of the kind of thing I did. I was always looking at myself as someone that was not adding up compared to anyone else. I was extremely self-conscious, still am to some extent. Even when I was, 6 foot, almost 6'1", 185 pounds. I mean, I was pretty thin. I still felt very self-conscious about how I looked. I would suck in, even though I had nothing to suck in. I was, but I dealt with weight problems before that point, growing up and throughout. Started gaining weight in my early junior high years. Got overweight, and then I had a growth spurt and took all that off. But I still felt I was. I didn't look good. I couldn't get out on the dance floor. I was I just didn't want to look stupid. I just figured I would look stupid. And so that really was everything seemed to be, compared to anyone else, is that I just didn't add up. It wasn't that I chose to think that way. It's just what was a part of my being. So when I heard Zig talking about self-esteem, and I had gone through the seminar about self-esteem, I really latched onto the importance of that. And it's still a battle. There's this phenomenon that's talked about called Peter's principle, where simply you move up to you move up to the point, when you have a job, corporation, and you're improved up to the point of your incompetence. You're promoted to the point of your incompetence. And so I always felt, no matter what I was doing, that I was kind of out of place. Even when I was, speaking on stages in front of hundreds and thousands at different times, because I've been told that I had that skill, and I developed that skill and worked hard at it. I got good feedback, and people thought I was great at it. I always thought that I was out of my element. That I was. There's another phenomenon called imposter syndrome. I live with that. I still do, even in this point, looking at you and talking like, what do I have to say? And I'm so self-conscious about everything I say or do, and I look at this. I can't look back at one of these because I think I'm just doing a terrible job in so many ways. So, when it comes to weight loss, that is one of the things that I have been struggling with, is the idea of being able to accept myself in a better body that I had. It's almost like the body that I put around me was basically there to justify my thinking about me. I never liked physical activity that much. I love playing sports, but I didn't like exercise for the sake of exercise. I hated weight rooms. I hated people that went to weight rooms. I thought that they were all full of themselves. Of course, in my situation, if I walked into the weight room, I'd see them and I'd say, I don't look anything like that, and I was self-conscious, and I thought everybody was, looking at me, making fun of me. All of that was going through my mind. So one of the prayers I ask for you as I'm making this transition and going to continue to work on it, is that my thinking gets cleaned up about the way I should look at myself. The thing that I've been taught and I've tried to embrace is how wonderfully made I am, that God's ability to be creative and make all kinds of humans, and specifically me, that if I start to not accept all that, I'm not accepting his workmanship, which means I'm not trusting him. So there's things that are very, very related. Within the Bible, in the New Testament, Paul specifically talks about different kinds of gifts that people have, and that nobody should think better of themselves than anybody else, that we're all part of one body, we all have different functions. And I know that to be true, yet there are some jealousies that I have, that if somebody has a gift that I don't, it's very hard for me to look at my own gifts and recognize who they are, because I tend to want to look at other people's gifts and compare that weakness to their strength, which is something I taught people not to do. Yet it's so easy to do that, to look at somebody else's strength where I'm weak and make that as my basis for comparison, and then therefore feel bad about myself. So pray about that for me, because Zig, one of the things Zig taught is we cannot consistently perform in a manner that is inconsistent with the way we see ourselves. I know that to be true. How to get that to get deep and real in terms of how I should accurately see myself in such a way where I'm not constantly comparing myself to others, and not feeling self-conscious, but accepting of myself. And how do I do that? Give me some feedback on that, please. Comments. I know that I taught about that for years, and I, once again, over my head about teaching about it, but I believed what I was teaching, but I was really always had a hard time letting it sink in. And I think there's some other speaker friends of mine that have had the same kind of issue, that they were teaching one thing, but they really had a hard time applying it in their own lives, although they knew it was true. So they helped tons of people. So it's not a hypocritical thing. It's just a struggle. And give me some feedback about that, because as I'm continuing to lose weight, I'm meeting with a coach, a personal coach, a trainer coach next week, so I can start on a training regimen to get my body in shape, as well as having lost the weight, to actually begin to build muscle and to start to build more stamina and endurance, and try to look better and feel confident. So pray for me about that. Until the end of July 4th evening, happy Independence Day. Thank God for your freedom and the liberty that we have in this country. I will let you know how I'm doing at the end of that day. I'm going to have to deal with hot dogs and all kinds of different eats around me, but I can do it. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow.